Hi, Amy Astrab with Astra Stamping. Got some great Christmas cards for you today. We are going to be working with the Merriest Moments stamp set and the coordinating dies and hybrid embossing folder. So the dies have a total of 16 different die cuts in the set, and the hybrid embossing folder coordinates with the dies, so you can emboss and cut all at the same time with this, which is pretty cool. It is a little intimidating, but don't let it scare you away. When I first got started, I was like, I'm not sure how I'm going to use this, but once I got rolling, oh my gosh, this is a great set. So I'm going to turn the camera to now, and we're going to get started making some really cool today. Okay, so today we're going to be starting off with a standard white card base. This is our basic white thick cardstock with a standard 8.5 by 5.5 scored and folded at 4 1/4 inches. And I have cut a gold shimmer panel to match the card base front. So this is 4 1/4 inches by 5.5 inches. And I have simply run it through this hybrid embossing folder with no cutting. So this is just your standard. This is what you get when you run this through one time all by itself. And look at the beautiful detail. You've got the snowflakes here in the background. You've got the gorgeous foliage. And then you've got this nice framed rectangle in the middle where you can add a sentiment. And that's what we're going to work on stamping now, is the sentiment that we'll be placing in the middle. Now, in those die cuts, you have this great stitched rectangle that comes in this die set, excuse me, and it fits perfectly right here in the center where that is framed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stamp our sentiment, which comes in that Merriest Moments stamp set. I'm going to give that a good firm stamp. That turned out perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and just pop that in there with a bit of mono-adhesive glue. Now you could certainly pop that up with dimensionals if you wanted some added dimension. We are just going to stick to some basics on these first couple of cards because I want to show you how perfect they can look with just some simple card making and nothing too fancy. All right, now once I've got that glued down, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my card base. To this, I'm going to go ahead and add some of our basic red rhinestones. And what I am going to do with this one, because I don't have any red ribbon, which is what I really wanted, so I'm going to take my Stampin' Blend and some of our white crinkle seam binding, and I'm going to color that with my Stampin' Blend. And you can color these any color you want with your Stampin' Blends. It colors fabulously. It dries quickly because it is an alcohol-based ink. So there's not a lot of downtime between coloring and tying and placing on your. I'm just going to trim up the ends of that. And I will be adhering that to our card front with one of our mini glue dots. And there we have a beautiful card ready to send. Now I'm going to move on to our next card. This one is also going to be a relatively quick, simple card because I just want to show you how easy this set makes Christmas card making. So what I've done is I've got that standard card base again, same size and scoring as the first one. And I have taken just a piece of DSP, which is one from, it's a retired one, the plaid that we had a year or two ago. But you could use any DSP of your choice. I've just chosen something that looked festive and holiday-like. And I have gone ahead and run another piece of that gold shimmer. So this large die that comes with the set fits right in. It nests right inside this embossing folder. And when you put your paper in, close the door and run it through just like this, just like you would a regular 3D embossing folder, you come out with this die cut. So it's basically, it is cut off the snow. So let's look at the original one. It's taken and cut off all the little snow flurries around it and left you with this nice die cut impression. And I have gone ahead and already adhered this to my DSP. And I'm going to pop this down right in the center of my card front. And I have chosen to cut this down just a bit because I wanted a nice white border around my DSP, because I feel like once you stamp your sentiment on here, that white around the edge really makes this white pop. So let's go ahead and get our sentiment stamped on it. Now I am going to be stamping in shaded spruce this time, and we're going to do the sentiment together as the merriest place to be. A good firm stamp. I like to let it set for just a minute to accept that ink and come right straight off. And you have a nice impression that way. Now you'll notice that I am working on a piece of white foam board that gives that cushion to these photopolymer stamps. And that greatly improves the stamping, the quality of the stamped impression. All right, so now I'm just going to be placing that right here in the center. Again, I'm going to keep this simple and just glue it down. And I think I'll go ahead and add a few of those red holiday rhinestones to this one as well. How lovely is that? Stepping it up just a bit, I'm going to be doing a full panel that is 5.5 by 4.25 in Night of Navy. And I have done that full image hybrid embossing folder panel, just the way we did that gold one. I have done it in white, and this is going to layer right on top of that navy. And then I have gone ahead, I cut a second one of those gold that looks just like this, and then I have taken this die cut and run this die cut over the top of that impression in the gold to get this. So you've got two ways of cutting that down. You can use just the one large one with the hybrid embossing folder to get this. But if you take it to the next level, once you've got it done, you can use this die cut and it gives you this. For this card, I'm actually going to use both. So I will be placing the white on the bottom layer. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that now. And I want to go ahead and glue this down a little more firmly. I'm not going to leave the edges loose on this layer like I did our last card. And you'll notice that this pretty well fills up a full card front. So it covers pretty much that whole area. So when you're going, you want to cut a 5.5 by 4.25 inch piece to run through there. Now for this one, I am going to take the same, this is the same impression. I'm going to flip it around this way so that it offsets just slightly. And I'm going to glue it right on top of that white. And I'm just going to be lining up the rectangles so that they nestle right into one another. Oh, that is exactly what I did not want to do. Okay, so I'm sorry, we're going to flip that around and nestle that rectangle up to itself and press that down. And look how lovely that's turning out so far. We've got all that dimension and layer in there with the two different colors that offset each other. And now I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment on white. And I think we will use the "Together is the merriest place to be" on this one as well. There are 3 really great sentiments in this card set, and they all line up very, very well with this rectangle, and you can stamp them in either direction. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. All right, and that is ready to mount on our card base. Now for this one, I am going to add some of our gold metallic pearls. Now, if you didn't have the gold pearls, white would also be beautiful on here, but look at that. We've got so many layers of beautiful dimension. Just a lovely card ready to go. Now, the next card is going to be very similar to that one, but rather than doing the navy, I am doing evening evergreen. And instead of leaving it plain, I have run it through the embossing folder with no cuts. This is going to go right here on my card base. And we're actually going to do this one this direction. So I'm going to be gluing this panel on here. I've got the gold one that I cut out with the embossing folder and then run it through the die cut machine with the second die cut so that we've got all of that dimension. And again, I'm going to be offsetting that so that you'll see some of that dimension on that other panel back behind this one. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and glue this to my evening evergreen panel. And since these are almost the same size as the card front, you have to be a little bit careful and a little bit particular in how you're placing them. Just a little piece that's hanging up there. View this festive season. Since my panel will be going this way, I also need my rectangle to go that way. So we'll be stamping it this direction, and it still fits perfectly. And now this is ready to go on our card base. It just doesn't get any easier than this, guys. I mean, these cards, to me, are just amazing. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of gold ribbon to this one. And again, beautiful card, lots of beautiful dimension, all ready to go. All right, I've got a couple more of them that I want to show you real quick. Now this one, I did both layers again. I die cut the hybrid embossing folder panel. I cut it again with this to come up with this garden green layer that I've already pre-done. I used cherry cobbler to cut out these little berries. These little flowers come in 3 different sizes. So I cut one of each, and you'll see those here, here, and here. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of shine to some of them. I've got the little dots in the center and a little bit on each of the berries. I've done that with this Shimmery Crystal Effects. It is a glue, but it dries shiny, and so it gives you that effect. You could make the whole thing shiny if you wanted to, or you could also, if you wanted to do the whole thing shiny, you could also use clear embossing powder and heat emboss those to give them a bit of a shine as well. So this one, I did not add the dimension to that bottom layer. That is just the largest die, the one that fits inside of the hybrid embossing folder. So it is this die. I cut it out all by itself on a white panel, and I adhered the green die cut to it so that you can see the white through. I've already got my A Joyful Christmas to You and Yours. That is the sentiment I chose for this one, and I'm going to pop this up on a black background. Isn't that stunning? Look how it just makes the color just really stand out with the white behind the die cut and then the black panel in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down now. And this panel's going right on that card base. I'll be honest, I was a little intimidated, although I was in awe of this set. Once I got it, I was a little intimidated by it. I thought, oh, how am I going to use this? How does it work? What am I going to make? It just was almost overwhelming. But once I got started and I saw the results, oh, they are just awesome. They're amazing. So there's one more. But wait, I am not done. I've got 2 more cards to show you today. This one is just that plain white hybrid embossing folder. I am going to be mounting it. I cut it down so that it is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, so that we've got just a little bit of a reveal, a border, if you will, around this panel when we glue it down to the card base. And I have taken the die cuts. So I have taken this one and this one and die cut them in rich raspberry. The little flower center is out of our new in color, the pale papaya. And then I used shaded spruce to cut out the leaves. And actually, I've got one of the flowers is also done in shaded spruce because I wanted a little more greenery in the background. And that is all already glued together. Now there are stamps that match those, so you could certainly stamp them and then die cut them if you wanted to, either on white paper or colored cardstock. So I've got that all already glued together. It's ready for my card front. For my card front, I cut a piece that is 2¼ inches by 3 inches, and that is going to fit perfectly inside that. And it's like, oh, but I thought we had a rectangle for that. We do. It is a hair smaller than that rectangle. So we're going to be layering these together on this card front. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this in place. Okay, I'll be stamping Thinking of You this festive season in rich raspberry ink. And I'm going to stamp this a little higher on this panel so that we're on the top portion of our stitched rectangle cutout. Like so. And we are going to just go ahead and glue that now right on top of the pale papaya panel that we've got in here. So it's going to go right in the center of the pale papaya so that we have just a nice framed border in there. I chose pale papaya because I've got the pale papaya right in the center, and it seemed odd to not have a little bit of that color somewhere on the card. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be adding this flower right down here on this panel, and I think I like it this way. So we'll go ahead and adhere that with some glue. It already has quite a bit of dimension, which you probably cannot see on camera. So I'm not going to pop it up with dimensionals, but I am going to go ahead now and glue this to our card front. Now I love the look of the white on white with all of that background dimension in there. I think that makes for a gorgeous card. All right. We have one last thing that I want to show you, and it's an idea I've been dying to try for a while now. So I watched a video quite some time back, and I don't remember what die cut they used or if it was even a Stampin' Up! Product, but they took, let me show you, they took paper napkins, just the cheapy kind that you buy at the box store, and they die cut it. And I thought, well, that's kind of a cool idea. So I decided I have to try it with this big die cut. So I did. I die cut it out, and they watercolored theirs. I decided rather than using watercolors, I wanted to use my Stampin' Blends. So that's exactly what I started doing, and I held off finishing it because I wanted to show you the magic of coloring these in. So let me pull some scratch paper out here to color on and get my Stampin' Blends out here. So I used cherry cobbler on the little berries. I've got soft succulent, which is the silvery green color that you see here. I have got just jade in the light and the dark for these ones here. And then I've got the light shaded spruce and the dark shaded spruce here and here. So I want you to see, and hopefully the camera's going to pick this up. I'm going to try to zoom in really close to the work right now. Now, move some of this back. I've got one more of I tried to save one of each for you. So just ever so lightly with the brush tip, I went over and I'm just barely touching it, and it is just grabbing the ink out of these Stampin' Blends like a sponge because it's a napkin. It's very absorbent. So it just pulls it right in. But it holds the embossed impression that's in there. It holds it fast. It's amazing to me how it does that. So let's see. I think I did the light shaded spruce, yes, for this. And I'm just barely touching these. And it just pulls it right into every little part of those impressions. Okay. Now let me do this largest one so you can see it because it's just gorgeous. I did the light and the dark on it. So I went over each of the leaves first with the light. And then I went back with the dark and I did just the very bottom part of the leaf and the stems. Look at it just soak up in there and add such rich color to those. All right, now because it is a napkin and it's a little frail, I did go ahead and make a cardstock piece, and I'm going to go ahead and put glue on there and glue this down just so it's got some stability when we put it on the card base. So you are watching me experiment here. I have not tried this prior to filming, so this is attempt number one at doing this, and hopefully it's going to turn out. I was very impressed with how the blends worked on it. Just want to make sure I am matching up with my cardstock before I lay it down. Okay, I am happy with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and mount that to a piece of evening evergreen because I think that really makes those greens pop. And I'm just going to go ahead and mount that straight away to our card base. Pull the camera back out just a little bit here. cut a panel in real red. Let's do real red, and let's use the evening evergreen for the sentiment. I decided I wanted to add that extra panel since we've got the napkin still exposed there. I wanted to cover up that center portion of the napkin. So we'll go ahead and put that down. That gives us a little more red besides just the berries. And I think we'll do the evening evergreen. And then I think this one needs just a little bit of shimmer. So I am going to add some of the glittered. I'm going to add just a little bit of the glittered organdy ribbon to this one. That is going to be the perfect finishing touch to this card. Thank you for bearing with me while I experimented on this just a little. I'm excited that you got to be a part of the live creation on this one, or at least most of it was live creation on this one. So look at that. You know what this needs? I think this needs some opal rounds. What do you think? Opal rounds on here. Yes, at least one. Let's put one. Big one and a couple of little ones. Ah, perfect. Look at that. So much dimension, so much beautiful color. I love it. I love how it turned out. Okay, let's take a quick recap of the cards we've created this evening. Here was card number 1, card number 2, card number 3, we've got number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7. So 7 great cards, simple and easy to make. We've made them in what? Maybe less than an hour's time. So look at all these great cards you can get. I hope that this video has inspired you and that you'll go ahead and get crafting on your Christmas cards. If you haven't already ordered the Merriest Moments Bundle and you would like to order through me, you can visit stampinup.com and select Amy Astrab as your demonstrator, or you can hop on over to adastrastamping.stampinup.net. The host code for November is QAPQ4CBD. That's going to end on November 25th of 2021. So if you want to use that host code when you shop with me, I'd greatly appreciate it.